Hey everyone, it's been a really long time since I've done one of these recordings talking about sports. 5 months, as a matter of fact. And, to be completely honest, with everything going on, such as the pandemic putting a halt to not only sports but our lives as well, I really found a hard time finding motivation to do anything, especially with college as well, dealing with the rest of my spring semester along with summer. um, that passion in me to get into sports just wasn't there for a while. But you know, it was really tough. How was it for you, Marissa?
Yeah, it was definitely hard without sports going on, and it wasn't. Just wasn't that interesting. It felt like it was really hard to stay motivated to try to do research about sports and stuff. I don't
Uh,
know. I had head empty moment.
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's our first time back here. We're gonna have to work out the kinks and all that.
Oh yeah.
We can't expect this to be completely perfect on our first try, doing it all over again. Not at all. That's the purpose of doing this. We do this so we can learn how to, possibly get a job in something in this field later in our lives. That's what I really want to do. I'd love to be a broadcaster or a sports talk show host, and I know we're gonna make mistakes along the way doing this, but we're here, aren't we?
Yep, we're definitely here. I'm very excited to be doing this with you, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep, and a big pain in the ass, that's for sure. Mainly with me. You you
Yes.
uh, you signed the contract. You got to live through it. But no, I'm really glad that you can join on with me. My dad, to explain right now, my dad recently had knee replacement surgery. So it's going to take a while for him to recover, and he's not going to be in the mood to do any podcasts. We're all hoping for a speedy recovery because it was really fun
Mm-hmm.
having him
Yes.
work with me and all that. You worked with him once when you were a guest on the previous shows. How
Mm-hmm.
was that for you?
Oh, your dad really helped me because I didn't know what I was gonna say, and he would ask me a lot of.
Yeah. It definitely lowered the bar a little bit. I'm only just saying that just to mess with my dad when he hopefully listens
Aw.
to this. Yeah, I'm totally kidding on that. No, my dad is such a pleasure to have around. Really helps me get closer with him. But anyways, yeah, I really want to get into this again, especially with sports coming back. Baseball is halfway through their regular season. Basketball is going to the playoffs right now, and football season looks like it's going to be right on time to start, which is great. There hasn't been any COVID cases in a while. That's really great to hear. Some bumps in the road for the MLB. Some teams have had their seasons halted for a bit because of infection rates going up a little bit within their own teams, such as the Mets, Cardinals, Marlins. But hopefully everything is okay. And NBA has been completely spot on. They haven't had any cases since they started the bubble, which, big props to them for planning things out so well. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I think the MLB's done a pretty good job considering. I feel like they had a really short amount of time to get going with all the setbacks in regards to their money issues. They still did a pretty good job, and if you look at what the Cardinals are doing right now, they're playing like they haven't really missed a beat. And I haven't followed the NBA too much, but it looks really fun, and everybody looks like they're having. They're really just working to try to win the championship, and it doesn't really seem to be a problem for them right now.
Really good words from you. I don't know why I said it like that, but I did. Again, working out the kinks. But anyways, what I have planned for this whole thing is I really want to do more with this. Before I used an image from Google for the cover, which was the A's, Raiders, and Warriors, which I'm not even sure if I was allowed to do, to be completely honest. But I'll keep those around just to acknowledge that little mistake I made with marketing my uh, podcast. this podcast. We plan on using something new, a new logo, and we're going to go by the title of Caramel Sports, mainly to go along with Caramel Productions. I thought that'd be a good name. And I talked about making a logo, not me making it, but Cruz making it. Cruz has been working on one for quite some time now, and he's been doing a great job with what I've seen. We'll get it up to you when we can. Hopefully, it will be tied in with this episode as the thumbnail. Really hope you get to see the good work done by Cruz because he is a really good graphic designer. And if anyone here is listening and you need someone to make a logo for you, call him right up. And other things I plan on doing is I plan on branching out onto Instagram, which will be shared with Marissa. I bet you'll have plenty of great memes.
Yes.
You got all the good memes, especially with the MLB. For some reason, MLB fans love deep frying pictures now and really weird puns along with players' names. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep. I love the deep fried memes.
Anything else you want to share about that?
Oh, I also love the "You Just Lost Two" memes. Those are my absolute favorite. So hopefully I can make a lot of those and get them posted.
I'll try to do those with football as well. One thing I wanted to say is that through some reflection, I'm not trying to make this a deep reflection. No, this isn't like a celebrity apology or anything. I'm just trying to just look at myself as a sports fan, to be completely honest. And I have realized that out of all the main sports I love, baseball, football, and basketball, football is easily my favorite by far. And I really plan on doing a lot more with football. And you're going to notice that. You're going to notice that I'm much more into talking about football. Marissa will be mainly talking about baseball. That is easily your favorite sport. Am I correct?
You are correct. That is my favorite sport of all time.
All time. That's
all time.
All time. And then my dad, when he comes back in, he'll mainly cover basketball. Of course, he'll want to talk about everything else, but basketball will be his big thing. And just because we have our favorite sports doesn't mean we're going to talk at all about the rest of them. I'm still going to want to talk about the A's and Warriors. But the Raiders will be my focal point along with the rest of the NFL. And also with fantasy football, man, Marissa got into fantasy football for the first time last year. Didn't do so well.
We're not going to talk about that.
You had Lamar Jackson and you still – but it's okay. It's your first year. Me, on the other hand, I was able to win the league. My dad was runner-up. It was really fun. My first time ever winning in fantasy. It feels like a big pat on the back that moment I win. Don't know if that's going to happen again this year, but I'm really hoping so, as we made another league with more friends of ours from high school and some new ones from college. I plan on doing coverage for that, even some live coverage, possibly on Twitch or just Instagram Live, just going over how everyone in our league is doing in fantasy. I'll do some other statistics as well, going over maybe who is the top player to get that's on the fantasy wire or who you should drop, like maybe someone that's on everyone's team, but, hey, you should drop this player, things like that. As I've been trying to say here, I just really want to branch out more into what I can do as a sportscaster. And I just really hope that it can all work out. But really all that has to come down to what I do, how much motivation I have. And I'm going to say right now, right here, that I'm going to do what I can to give you the best. What do you think, Marissa? What do you want to bring?
Sounds pretty good.
What do you want to bring to this?
So one thing that I really would like to do is just bring a big question to the podcast and have each of us debate on what we feel about the question. So it would have something to do with any of the three sports, but probably mostly baseball for me, because obviously that's the area I know the most. But something like that, just to bring, more, just more, I guess, opinions and just stuff like that.
Yeah. And, like I said, glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And I have a lot of faith in the both of us being able to make some good content.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically what our plans are going to be for the future of this podcast. Like I said, it's going to be under Caramel Sports. You can find it on the YouTube channel Caramel Productions. Go for the playlist that says Caramel Sports, and you'll find it immediately. And the reason why actually I took away East Bay Sports Talk is mainly like that's really basic, I guess. Like, I can't like, go against anyone who wants to have a title like East Bay Sports, but I just feel like it was a little too basic to have. There's so many accounts out there on Instagram and Twitter that probably has something like East Bay Sports or Raiders, A's, Warriors, fan accounts where it's like it's going to be too easy to get lost in the fray of all those accounts. So I thought maybe if we go by Caramel, we'd be able to stand out easier. Like, oh, hey, you should listen to this channel. Oh, what's it called? Caramel. You don't have to search a whole lot for us. We still might just average 20 views, but hey, we're going to have fun while we do that. And that's the plan. And while we're here, I didn't want to just talk about what our plans are. Let's just talk about some sports as well. And what good is there to talk about other than Fernando Tatis Jr.? Let's get started with that, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So for those who don't know Fernando Tatis, well, how dare you not know who he is? He is a dark horse MVP, in my opinion, in the National League. And last week, going against the Texas Rangers, they had a big lead on them. Tatis had the bases loaded, a 3-0 count, chose to swing at the ball, and knocked it out into the stands for a grand slam. That started a big streak of grand slams, giving the San Diego Padres the name of Slam Diego. But as any home run on a 3-0 count with a big lead, bases loaded would do, there was controversy. Texas manager was not happy with it. He said that he's just like thought that it wasn't appropriate for the game to do with a big lead that they had. Even the Padres' own manager, who worked with the Rangers before, wasn't a big fan of it, kind of scolded Tatis alongside the general manager. Players, though, like Eric Hosmer and Zach Davies, is that his name? Am I correct? Zach Davies?
Yes, Zach Davies.
Yeah, they were both very supportive of him. And, it still raises that question of how far can unwritten rules go and how much longer are they going to last? Because they were discussed, last year a lot as well, with Tim Anderson launching a dinger against the Kansas City Royals, to which he flipped the bat to what some people thought was too far, and he got thrown at next. And also with the Padres game, Machado was the next batter after Tatis hit a home run, and he was thrown behind in his next at bat. I might have said before that I'm not a big fan of Manny Machado, but still I don't agree with him taking the brunt of that, even though Tatis was the one who hit that home run. But Marissa, we're trying to get to the topic here. What do you think about unwritten rules?
Well, so as somebody who, sometimes I look at the game and how much has changed, and I kind of think, whoa, it's going a little too fast there. I really think sometimes the unwritten rules may be a little bit silly. I think Tatis is just a superstar player. I think he's really great. And honestly, in that situation, no lead is safe. I mean, if you watch the Giants and the A's the week before, you could see exactly what happened. Anyway, so unwritten rules, I think, are gonna slowly get pushed out of baseball. It was last year, I think, when MLB launched the "Let the Kids Play" campaign with Ken Griffey Jr. in a commercial where they showed off a bunch of bat flips and just stuff like that to show.
They're showing their own personality. Sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, I mean, I think if MLB is going to try to market to the younger generation, that's what they're going to have to go after. People like to watch guys with big personalities and lots of flair, and it's fun to watch. I even as somebody who I like the game how it is. I sometimes I just think about the changes and I don't like them, but it's fun to watch guys play like that. I mean, Tim Anderson, he's a great player, and flips. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. You know, I'm much more progressive when it comes to baseball. You've disagreed with me on many things, such as, you know, should there be an automatic strike zone? We'll get into that
No.
another time for another debate because we already got one planned out for this episode.
Yes.
But anyways, yeah, I just really get tired of this whole thing with pitchers wanting to throw at batters just because they just want to show some personality. I just find it to be really immature. And you know, like with what the Padres did in this past week, hitting 5 grand slams in 6 games, that was just no one's ever done that. No one.
No.
When they hit 5 in a row. No, 4 in a row. My bad. Yeah, 4 in a row. They already said that that was a new record. You know, no team has ever accomplished that. And of course, if Tatis chose to watch that ball go by against the Rangers, we wouldn't be talking about this. And I'm glad that he swung. And you could tell too was when he swung at that ball, he wasn't going for a home run.
Hmm.
It was just a nice casual swing. If anything, all you gotta say to the pitcher is do better. To be completely honest, you know, if a pitcher's gonna be so mad, the best thing that they can do is strike them out next time they're on, not just throw at them. Because to me, that's a coward's way out. And what are some other unwritten rules that we feel should be changed? You know, such as no bunting on a no hitter. What do
Oh,
you think
I.
about that?
Oh. That one, I feel like that one might stay for a while. You know, I think it's kind of not so cool when you do that. But I think one that should probably go away is watching the home run, you know, admiring your home run. And as someone I Bumgarner fan, as you know, I definitely think he's gonna get used to watching guys watch their own home runs, and he's gonna have to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, to cite an example would be June 8th against the Dodgers. You know, this is when Bumgarner was still with the Giants. In the first inning, Muncy hit one into the pond, and you know that definitely set Bumgarner off. They were yelling at each other across the base. There's an argument about that, and I know you're a big fan of Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, I mean, I, I, I think also arguments like that. I think they could also add to the game in a way. I I love Bumgarner, right, and he's very passionate about the game. But I also think that when players get into fights, I that's really interesting to me too. I think that is also something that MLB could market to their younger players. I'm not saying like they have to get in a fight all the time, but I'm saying that, you know, when fights happen, I mean, who doesn't love to watch like 20 guys run out of the dugout? I love that.
Yeah, and you know, I initially disagree just with that, just because you know, like even though it is exciting, you know,
Mhm.
there are repercussions that come with that. You know, a player gets suspended, you know, for a certain amount of time. You don't know how much their impact might hurt the team when they're gone and such.
Mhm.
And you know, every game matters in the NBA. You know, there's a lot of games in it still. 162 games a year, only 60 this year though, due to the pandemic. But you know, every game ends up mattering. You know, when you look at it in hindsight, it's like, oh man, I wish we can get this game back or that game back. And sometimes it might get looked at because it might be lost because of a suspension involved from a fight.
Mhm.
And of course, you don't know if anyone's going to get hurt from that too. And with this pandemic, it's made us really look at ourselves with how we are close to each other. You know, with you know lots of spitting in the dugout, people getting really close to each other, and all that. And, you know, with what some people are saying about the pandemic is things might never be the same again. You know, we might look at things a lot differently.
Mhm.
And with fights in the MLB, the it just might end up hurting us in that's in a health sense as well. Despite like you know like it doesn't matter if you got punched worse or anything like that. It might be what happens to the inside of you that gets impacted. Because like I said, with this pandemic, you know the MLB has really emphasized how important it is for people to not get too close to each other and all that. And like I said, some people are saying that we might not be able to fully recover from this. So, just looking at it in that way, fights might become more discouraged. And I that's how I see the MLB going soon.
I mean, yeah, obviously right now, fights should probably be discouraged. But I'm thinking like post-pandemic. But because of what's going on right now, and that there shouldn't really be fights, I think they probably should have gone heavier with a punishment on the Astros, especially in the Dodger game when they got into that little scuffle.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. And when it comes to like pitchers hitting people, like I'm not for it at all.
Mhm.
Especially with a player hitting a home run and watching it for a bit. I think that's really immature. But what really frustrated me with the MLB's decision on the Astros was to give them special treatment when it came to getting hit by pitches. We're like, oh, if you throw at them, you'll get suspended. That's how Manfred was. You just kissing the shoes of the Astros. And what frustrates me, especially with the A series in which Laureano ended up getting into it with an Astros hitting coach, is that they got hit 5 times. The A's got hit 5 times. Laureano 3 times. And Chris Bassett of the A's starting pitcher made a really good point. Is like if you look at it, if that went the other way, many A's would probably get suspended for that, or at least there'd be some trouble if the A's hit the Astros 5 times. But no, it went the other way around. But because of the special treatment that the Astros get, nothing really happens. And yet they also incite fights as well with their coach saying obscene things about Laureano's mom. Like that's one of the ugly things about fights is that he was drawn into one when there wasn't supposed to be any. It was a just a really bad situation all around for that when they played each other. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously with the pandemic, we can't the fights they should be discouraged. But I mean, if somebody is talking about your mom like that, if there was no pandemic going on, I would feel better. Like I would encourage Loriano more in that fight. Like I'd feel better about that fight happening. But
And I totally agree with you on that.
yeah, because I don't know, the Astros, they really get under my skin.
Oh yeah, they have a target on their back, and it's gonna stay there until every player from that organization is gone. Eventually, I have to think that there might be an exodus out of that place when players' contracts come up, because it's just such a what you call it, a stigma
Yeah.
and a burden that you have to carry when you're on that team. That that they cheated their way into 2 World Series and ruined the chances of other teams as well to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Springer's contract is up pretty soon.
Yeah,
I
this
mean, I
year.
wonder what's going to happen with him. I mean, I know early on the Giants beat writers were talking about what would happen if he came here, which I doubt. But honestly, I don't know if there's going to be a team that's actually going to pursue him. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. I think teams eventually will come around, teams that maybe just need someone or like, they're able to look past that, but that'll
mhm.
be very difficult for those players in the locker room because as many people know, it was a player driven scheme that they
Yep.
ran in Houston. And so it's a what you call it? I would think a catch-22. Hopefully that's the correct term to use, or just a double-edged sword. Is that if they stay there, the Astros will still get booed a lot. When things go back to normal. If they leave, people might not want them, or they might not get along with their teammates because they know what they did.
Yeah.
But
But
go
go ahead.
ahead.
Oh, no. Oh. Um, yeah, I mean, the just to add on what you're saying about the players not liking them if they join their team. I mean, I think the Astros made it a lot worse for themselves just by the way they were acting in the beginning of the year. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, whoever's in charge of PR on their team I don't know how they're going to get a job ever again with the work that they did, because they showed zero accountability for what they did and just kept trying to deflect questions. And, the whole thing was how players might have been wearing wires. They still didn't disclose that. Like, anything that they could have done right, they completely ignored, and they just went the opposite direction. But anyways, going back into unwritten rules, let's just think of a timetable. When do we think that most unwritten rules, such as bat flipping, watching your home runs, padding leads or stats, when do we think that's going to go away?
I think when most of the older players are out of the league. So, like
I say that's like going to be past 5 years,
yeah.
especially with managers too. Once like there's will be more young managers. Now, I'm not saying that all old managers are like that. I think people like Joe Madden and Bob Melvin and Gabe Kapler as well. I know you're not a big fan of Kapler, but we will have to say that they are progressive coaches, and they all are sort of up there. I think Kapler's definitely the youngest out of them, but they do have progressive minds, especially Joe Madden.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, the other last week when the Giants played the Angels, Sean Anderson ended up throwing at Mike Trout. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I mean, the first thing that Gabe Kapler said was that we don't throw at players.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you made a good point there. And just to wrap things up with this topic and eventually the podcast episode. Well, like I said, I think it's gonna be past 5 years. We're gonna have to wait until we get young managers, the new wave of players come in, and if anything, I think it is really essential to the MLB survival. I'm not saying that the MLB is going to be shut down in the future, but when you compare it to basketball and football, it's definitely not the hardest to watch, but their viewership definitely isn't the same, and how much attention it gets in the media. And I think a lot of that is held back due to the old school mindset that baseball has right now. I feel like it holds it back because players aren't able to, have any flair. It doesn't capture as much interest. I still love baseball so much, but I do have to admit that, with football and basketball having so many different personalities and aspects to it, that's why they're able to evolve so much and do so well on ratings. And that's just why I think taking care of these unwritten rules is so important, because I feel like it will help the MLB prosper in the future if they can get rid of them, or at least minimize them.
Yep. I think you pretty much said it very well. I mean, I think I probably do have an old school mindset when I watch baseball, and a lot of people don't. I mean, they want to see big personalities and lots of flair, which it's a lot of fun, and I think the unwritten rules are gonna have to get pushed away.
Only with baby steps, it seems. It's going to take a long time. But that is going to wrap up our first episode of the new Caramel Sports Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we had some mistakes along the way with this, but like I said, we're going to be working at the kinks. We're going to try to do better with each podcast that we record and such. I'm going to do my research. So will Marissa. Marissa's great at doing research. Before we recorded, I could see her writing notes and all that, sending them to me. It's like, oh wow, like I need to get started as well. But yeah, that's gonna wrap things up. Any last words from you, Marissa?
Nope. I just hope that we can get through the rest of this baseball season and hopefully see some football soon too.
All right. Can't wait for all of that. All right, everyone. Good night.